welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave podcast. Okay. The boys, again, I mentioned it before. We didn't even have time to get into episode 4. Episode 4 was pretty good. Episode 5, though, was kind of over the top. I'm going to say this before we dive into the episode.
Over the top. What's over the top for the boys, though? That's got to be.
There was some superhero sex. It was pretty. It was, and it was spoilers. Although it came out last Friday, so at this point, you should have watched it.
It's a tough titty.
Coming off of episodes 3 and 4, you kind of not that it wasn't a possibility, not that you didn't think about it, but you definitely didn't necessarily see it coming earlier in the season. So I thought that was actually pretty good. And yeah, it also had this scene in episode 5 where Homelander, so Homelander basically is being protested on social media. And this is why.
Well, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Start with episode 4. Right, and let's go into what was episode 4 about? Or roughly, give a rough summary.
Episode
of
4
what episode
was as dull, to use the same word, as the show has gotten. It was a road trip with Mother's Milk, Huey, and Starlight came along with them. You got to see the little romance between Starlight and Huey, which was nice. But overall, what it did is drop one important puzzle piece into our laps as to who Stormfront is. However, we don't know really enough about the clue that they dropped, in my mind, to be like, wow, I can't believe it. It was, all right, that's interesting. Again, more interesting as it comes along. It also,
is it a good story or is it a bad story?
No, it's
whatever,
cool. I mean,
whatever secret that they uncovered.
The secret, Huey kind of sums it up in episode 5 as to what it means, kind of nicely. So, but again, it's not like one of those like bombshell kind of things where you're like, oh, they've been setting this up for years. It was more like, this is just more information that you need to know about Stormfront and as to why she, committed those heinous acts in episode 3. To begin with, obviously we know from the comic that character is extremely, Nazi or racist, and they're playing up those. They're playing up those points in the.
You can tell from the name, the character's name, but
Yeah, well, but they're playing that up now. You're dropping more hints in the show now, and essentially, this character is very old. That's the one tidbit that was very
Stormfront. You mean?
Yeah. It's very fascinating to see. So there's some
How
questions.
Old?
I mean, they're pinning her
like Wolverine,
60 or 70. Yeah, 60 or 70 years old at this point. Potentially.
Not quite Wolverine, but all right, okay.
So again, little drops that little mystery, little mystery box stuff for us to kind of figure out as we kind of go along. So that was pretty good. Episode 5, though, again, it sets up at the end of episode 3 that Homelander is going to have beef with Stormfront, and he does throughout until Stormfront kind of educates him on how publicity works nowadays. This is the part that I thought was pretty amazing. You and I, if we go on social media and we just give our opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately we are put into tribes. Immediately, we've discussed this many, many times, right? Like there's no nuance, there's no middle ground, there's no discussion.
Right.
That's why it's, to me, important for the arts to have TV shows, movies, books. These are the only place, music. These are the only places you can have discussions anymore. Even those end up, the people discussing them end up getting boxed into their corners when all is said and done.
Yeah.
But the ability to actually stress a nuanced point, I think the only way you can do that, if you get up there and say something that people disagree with as a person, they will immediately disagree with you and they'll immediately write you off. If Eric Cartman gets up there and you have an entire episode around Eric Cartman saying something that's controversial, but you're able to bring in all these different angles, people will actually listen and digest it and be able to kind of comprehend the point. They'll still take the message however they want to and then use it for their tribes.
Yeah.
But at least creators have the ability, where I don't think we do anymore because of social media, to discuss things in a way that's detached. It's not the creator of the show saying this. It's these characters. So Stormfront educates Homelander on all this. You don't need, $2 million on a big budget of promotion, and he does this patriotic budget. You just need like 200,000 angry people to rally behind you. And
right.
And that is her lesson for him. And that is, she agrees to help him with his publicity and help him with his image right now, because it takes a hit, because just like anything on social media, it's really quite comical and in the very graphic boys style. There's a clip of him in some third world country battling very quickly a superpowered terrorist, as they like to put it. People in other countries now that have these superpowers. He flies in, he uses his I-beams, he cuts the guy to shreds, he gives a wave and leaves, not realizing that his I-beams went through the guy and killed somebody behind him who was an innocent bystander. In which case they had the cell phone, and he even makes the remark. He's like, "These guys can't eat, but they all have cell phones. Like, what's going on here? Like, they're starving, but they have cell phones." But so his publicity takes a dive, right? His public image takes a dive.
His numbers take a dive, right? Yeah. His
and
ratings.
then so he actually tries to rectify it by confronting this angry group of protesters. And he lands where the congresswoman is like, "We're going to hold hearings on this." And it's the congresswoman who popped up on TV in the first 3 episodes saying, and he's like, "Hey, look, blah, blah, blah." And he tries to say the military, when you're out there in the front lines of the military, but there's someone from the military, he's like, "You don't represent us." And it basically goes from bad to worse.
Yeah.
And it's,
which is what would happen if you tried to confront an angry mob.
Oh, absolutely.
Without much to say, right?
Absolutely. Okay. And don't get me wrong, there is some subtlety to the race relations too, because the soldier was black and Homelander is like he's the Aryan Nation, representative. If you were to pick a physical representation of what the Aryan Nation would look like, I'm not saying that the actor is in any way shape.
There are overtones. You're saying there are overtones.
Yeah, it was definitely very well done. And then all of a sudden you see Homelander light up and just annihilate the crowd. But then you realize that's what he wanted to do. But instead,
so there was some restraint.
Yes.
In a Boys episode. All right.
But you got to see it. See, that's the beauty of it. The Boys does not like to stop. Does not like to take the foot off the gas pedal in terms of like shock value. And I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Like, oh, but part of me almost wishes he'd done that, because if he'd have done that, I mean, all bets are off as to where the series can go at this point. Because once Homelander, goes bad.
See, I would disagree with you. I don't think the series has anywhere to go once he comes out and actually does something. So? Yeah, I don't think it has legs after that.
Okay.
I think the slow burn of whatever is going, and he's the most interesting. He's the star of the show.
Yes.
It's not the Boys. It's not.
Right.
It's not Butcher.
Right.
It's not Huey or whatever. It's not any of these characters. It's basically Homelander carrying the entire show.
Yeah.
And so once he finally flips his wig, there's not going to be a lot of room for it. It's like it's Ray all over again. Once Ray beats Kylo, where's the rest of the story?
Right.
So, all right. So at least they were smart enough not to have him annihilated entire, because he's got it in him. He's already killed a whole bunch of people in the airplane.
Oh gosh,
in season 1. So it's not like it's not like teasing that is that much of a departure from where they've already gone.
Yeah. No. And this is the other thing I'll say too. On an aside, doesn't he look like Mark Paul Gosselaar from Saved by the Bell? Like when I watch him, I actually feel like Zach Morris is killing all these people. Like it's really.
Now that you mention it, I didn't see that.
You didn't see it, it's not like what Mark Paul Gosselaar looks like now. It's like what Zach Morris looked like back then, maybe a couple years older. You know, so it was just like I'm like, Zach Morris, don't kill everybody.
Yeah, I think Gosselaar got rid of his Zach Morris.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Vibe.
Yeah,
around NYPD Blue. You know, when he was a cop. You know, he did a pretty damn good job in that show that I remember, replacing Ricky Schroeder, who you know. So yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, I know. That's not what we're talking about. I just was funny. So anyway,
I guess so. I guess, but I only see it now that you mention it. I didn't see it before.
Go watch it if you watch the show again, if you ever do.
No.
And watch him. It's once you know, you can't unknow. It's just one of those things. But I digress. Culminates in Stormfront using her social media mob to turn the tide with a bunch of memes and a bunch of folks on social media. And suddenly his Q rating goes back up again. And all of a sudden he's like, not indebted to her, but he essentially is like, oh, I owe you. And she's like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden it reminded me of, oh God, what's the movie with the sex scene of the two superpowered people and they just destroy, oh my God, I can't believe it's slipping my, Buffy. It actually reminded me of Buffy. Sorry. There's an episode of Buffy when her and Spike are in an abandoned building and they just, him being a vampire and her being, super strong, they literally just demolished this building that was going to be demolished anyway. It reminded me of that. And they do it in like his office or whatever, or the, wherever. And they just destroy the office. And there's this scene, they're hanging up. They're like literally like hanging. I mean, you could almost see the wires hanging, keeping them up there, which I thought was a little crappy in terms of special effects, but it was so. The thing that's very interesting about it, again, is, the way they set it up is that they were going to be rivals. But this makes more sense in the sense that she's a Nazi and he's a demigod, he's a psychopath. So it should be very interesting to see, where this goes from here.
Okay. Where can you go with a Nazi and a psychopath?
I don't know.
Interesting.
And using social media to propel you.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, that's some powerful allegory right there. But okay, all right.
Yeah, you like that? See, I'm telling you, dude, you got to get back into it. Now you're just not going to.
I've already explained that I think the nuance of it should have been that you slowly discover that these heroes are assholes. I think the fact that you reveal that they're not good people for the most part, that it kind of killed the novelty. That it was a novelty for a minute, right? And then everybody's doing a kind of dark superhero thing now, right? So that's fine. It's just like, I mean, they're in episode, what is it? They're about to go into episode 5 this week. I think it's going to be episode 5. No, episode 6.
No, episode 6.
So they only got 3 episodes left of the season because I think it's only an 8 episode season. Yeah. What have they done in this season? What have we really uncovered?
Well, I mean, again, introducing Storefront's a new character, so we are uncovering bits about her and how she ties into all this. Vought, has been outed now as having.
Okay, Vaught's been outed, but I mean, Vaught's been outed per story. Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
But everything that Vaught's been outed for, we discovered last season.
Right.
So what are we as an audience discovering other than Stormfront? And she was already
Black Noir got to be kind of featured a little bit.
That's not a revelation. That's just a feat. That's.
Well, we don't know anything about him, so we
still don't, though. Do we?
We learned about Frenchie. We learned more about him, and we also learned about Kimiko's brother, and what her past was, which we did not know.
All right, that's 8 hours worth of entertainment that you got right there. I mean, we'll see where it goes.
It was very good.
I don't agree with you. But
all right, what do you guys think? Let us know. Comment in the Facebook feed if you are watching us on the live stream. If you are going to download us on a podcast, still check out the live stream. We comment back and forth, or we'll reply back on the YouTube channel as well. All right, when we come back, we're going to go spinning the racks. But before we do, We're going to introduce a little segment called Hassan's Corner. It's going to be epic when we come back. With a cape. No, anything. Yeah. Cape is always crazy. Cape is always crazy. Look, there are clowns walking the streets right now.
Right now.
There is no one dressed in a cape. Rogue Wave Podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Streaming every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast and available immediately following the live stream wherever major podcasts can be found.